Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now the US dollar index is pumping, which is bearish for Bitcoin and crypto. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment, alongside Ethereum, which is now breaking support, and Solana, which has just bounced from the most important Fibonacci level of support, which I'll talk about later in the video. So make sure to watch to the end. First of all, just giving you a quick update here on the daily Bitcoin chart, and right now Bitcoin is playing out a new bearish divergence because of course we have just confirmed a new higher high in the daily candle closes in the price of Bitcoin, while the RSI on the daily time frame is sitting in lower highs. And now technically speaking, this new bearish divergence still needs to be confirmed with this daily candle close confirming in the red, but at least as of right now, it is looking likely that this daily candle close is going to confirm in the red, considering we're only a few hours away from this daily candle close confirming. And so once again, this bearish divergence simply means we're due to see reduced bullish momentum, which can play out in the form of either choppy sideways price action or potentially a bit of a pullback here in the price of Bitcoin as the most likely outcomes, the most common outcomes from a bearish divergence. But it is important to understand that this bearish divergence by itself does not necessarily guarantee that we're going to see a massive crash or a massive bearish trend reversal. So just keep that in mind. Once again, this is mainly telling us that we're due to see a reduced bullish momentum, at least in the shorter term here. And just staying on the daily Bitcoin chart, looking at the DXY, the US dollar index, which is right now bouncing back to the upside, at least in the short term. And that bounce back to the upside in the DXY is a short-term bearish signal for Bitcoin and crypto. Because as you can see on this chart right here, basically any time where the DXY is bullish, that is usually bearish for Bitcoin and crypto, as we've seen time and time again over the last 1 year or so. But at least as of right now, even though we are seeing a short-term bounce in the DXY, which is a short-term bearish signal for Bitcoin, as to why we've seen a bit of a short-term pullback for Bitcoin. But even though that's the case right now, this is not necessarily enough to fully confirm a bullish trend reversal here in the DXY, because at least for now, we have not confirmed any significant higher highs or higher lows again in the DXY, which technically means we are still currently within this bearish trend. And once again, if the DXY is trending in the bearish direction, that is bullish for Bitcoin and crypto in terms of the trend. And so once again, in terms of the trend right now for Bitcoin on the daily chart, I'm still currently bullish. We have not confirmed any bearish trend reversal for Bitcoin because we have not yet confirmed a bullish trend reversal here in the DXY. But obviously, it's important to understand that even during a bullish trend, we can see short-term pullbacks and short-term dumps here and there, just like how in a bearish trend, we can see short-term pumps here and there in the price of Bitcoin or in the DXY, even during a bearish trend. It's just for as long as we continue to see higher lows and higher highs in Bitcoin and lower highs and lower lows in the DXY, once again, the trend is still bullish for Bitcoin. And if we're taking a look at some levels of support to pay attention to, looking at the 12-hour Bitcoin chart, right now the price of Bitcoin is running into this ascending line of support again, which is sitting at around 42.3k approximately. But if we end up seeing a confirmed break below that level, so with candle closes back below that level of support, then in that case, our next level of support on this chart is sitting at around 39.4k approximately, which is this ascending line of support. But if we're taking another look at that daily Bitcoin chart, bringing out the Fibonacci retracement tool from swing low to swing high here on the linear settings, we have the 23.6% Fibonacci level of support sitting at around $41,000 per Bitcoin. And below that, the next Fibonacci level of support is sitting at around 37.9k. And so basically, right at around 38k, we do have some major supports based on previous resistance in the price of Bitcoin, and also the second most important Fibonacci level, which is the 38.2% Fibonacci level. But obviously, even though we have some strong support at those lower price levels, obviously that does not mean the price is going to go towards those levels. Of course, we could bounce at 41k, which so far we are, or for example, we could bounce at around 38k if we first confirm a break below 41k. And so those are the important levels of support to pay attention to here on the daily time frame. But of course, I would not expect a larger trend reversal in the price of Bitcoin unless we confirm a trend reversal here in the DXY, which as of right now has not yet confirmed. We're just seeing a bit of a short-term bounce. But once again, this short-term bounce right now in the DXY is enough to result in a dump in the price of Bitcoin, just a short-term dump for Bitcoin and crypto. Because as we can see here on the 4-hour Bitcoin chart, obviously as soon as the price of Bitcoin broke back below this previous area of resistance, which was was acting as a bit of short-term support. The moment we broke back below that area, of course, we ended up seeing a dump all the way down towards the lower side of this sideways price range, which is sitting in between around 40,500 going up towards around 41k approximately, which is acting as short-term supports based on these previous lows. And so at least for now, the price of Bitcoin is basically within a very large sideways consolidation, a large choppy sideways price range due to this bearish divergence here on the daily time frame. Once again, most likely resulting in a lot of choppy sideways price action as one of the most likely outcomes. And obviously that previous falling wedge pattern here on the 4-hour time frame already completed, as I talked about in my last video. We already confirmed the breakout above resistance, set up the technical price target, and the price of Bitcoin already hit that technical price target, which meant we already completed the pattern. And of course, at the same time of that previous breakout playing out, we did have a short-term bullish divergence here on the 4-hour time frame, which resulted in that short-term bullish relief. But obviously here in the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI, this entered into overbought territories around the local highs. And as I also talked about in my last video, I said when the RSI on the 4-hour chart enters into overbought territories, that means we're very close to some sort of local high. We have limited room to the upside in the short term, like what we saw back here when the RSI was previously overbought. And so we're basically seeing the same thing right now as what we saw back then, which once again I talked about in my last video. Obviously back then we saw a lot of choppy sideways price action and then ultimately a dump to reduce the RSI out of those overbought territories, which is what we are now seeing. But this short-term dump in the price of Bitcoin is actually very healthy for Bitcoin, because if you're looking at the Bitcoin and crypto funding rates, a lot of these funding rates are finally now resetting back down towards their neutral rates. Because first of all, in case you're new to this channel, basically these funding rates have been extremely overheated, very much above their neutral rate almost every day over the last 1 week or so. And what that actually means is essentially a lot of people were trying to long Bitcoin and crypto to the point where there was an extremely high premium to long Bitcoin and crypto. So basically the long positions were having to pay these very high funding rate fees to the short positions. And I did actually talk about a few times over the last 1 week or so that these very high funding rates were extremely unsustainable for Bitcoin and crypto, and we're due to see some sort of flush out sometime soon. I did mention that it's hard to say exactly when. Obviously, it could be a matter of days or perhaps a week from now. And once again, I was talking about that roughly around a week ago, and this is the flush out finally playing out. Obviously, flushing out a lot of long positions from the market, which is finally resetting these funding rates back down towards more neutral levels, so the market is more in balance. Right now, the long positions are not paying those extremely high funding rates, and the short positions are getting more reasonable rates in return. And so these funding rates for Bitcoin and crypto can often be a fairly reliable indicator telling us that we're approaching some sort of major flush out, some sort of major move sometime soon. And now that we have just seen that move, of course, these funding rates at these neutral levels means the price of Bitcoin potentially has room to recover later on. But oftentimes when we see a large volatile move like this, we usually end up seeing a bit of choppy sideways price action, basically a sideways consolidation in the short term to basically stabilize the price after a very volatile move. And so just over the next 1 to 2 days or so in the short term, that is what I'd be expecting. Mostly some choppy sideways price action, especially within this sideways price range right here. And believe it or not, you can actually make a lot of profits very easily in choppy sideways price action just like this. And if you want to know how to do that, then stick around to the end of this video to find out more. And while we're waiting for the next trade to take, whether it's a long position or a short position, either way, personally, I take these trades over on Bybit. So I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account, you can get up to a $30,000 deposits bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link to make a Bitflex account and deposit $100 worth of crypto and to make one trade over on Bitflex, then you can get 10 USDT completely for free. And so if you're trading crypto anyway, or if you're preparing to take the next trade, you might as well get set up ready to go on one of those exchanges using those links down below this video if you want to claim those extra bonuses. But anyway, getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this is on the daily time frame, and right now this bearish divergence is still playing out, because as of right now, we still have those previous higher highs confirmed in the daily candle closes in the price, while the RSI is still forming lower highs. And so once again, as I've been saying for a while now on the channel, especially over the last few weeks, basically I would not be expecting a significant amount of bullish momentum, at least in the short term, and instead we're most likely going to see either some choppy sideways price action or potentially a bit of a pullback here in the price of ETH, which so far over the last few weeks has exactly been playing out as expected. And as of right now, I do continue to expect this type of price action at least over the next few days, possibly over the next 1 to 2 weeks, considering this new bearish divergence is now playing out. But remember, this bearish divergence by itself is not necessarily enough to confirm a bearish trend reversal in the price or a massive crash. Obviously, it can result in short-term bearish price action, like a short-term pullback or some choppy sideways price action. But in order to see a larger trend reversal here in the price of ETH, I'd like to see other bearish confirmation signals, for example, a trend reversal in Bitcoin and the DXY, also confirmed breaks below significant support here for the price of ETH, which as of right now has not yet happened. And speaking of significant support levels here for the price of ETH on the daily time frame, we have this significant area of previous resistance now acting as new support, sitting in between around 2.1k going up towards around 2150, which is still currently acting as support. And if we're taking a look at the Fibonacci retracement tool from swing low to swing high on the daily chart on the logarithmic settings, we have the 38.2% Fibonacci level of support at around 2040, exactly where the price just bounced from. And we also have the 23.6% Fibonacci level of support sitting at around 2180 to 2190, which if you're looking at the daily candle closes is also providing some decent support. And so those are the significant levels of support that I'm currently paying attention to for the price of ETH. Once again, the Fibonacci levels sitting at around 2190 and around 2040, and this area of support sitting in between around 2.1k to 2150. And if we're taking a look at the 8-hour time frame, right now the price of ETH has broken below this ascending line of support, which was sitting at around 2290. And obviously this is happening just after we saw a perfect rejection from this horizontal line of resistance, which was sitting at around 2390. And as I mentioned in my last video, we were seeing a potential breakout above that resistance, but obviously we did not see any confirmation. So like I said in my last video, I'll not be entering into a long position unless we see confirmed candle closes above that level, which obviously did not happen. In fact, we saw candle closes pretty much exactly on that level of resistance at around 2390, and a perfect rejection from that resistance if you're looking at the 8-hour candle closes. And so now that the price has broken to the downside below this ascending line of support, technically that would set up a technical price target for this pattern right here, which is sitting at around 2050 to 2060. And as you can see here on the charts, the price of ETH has pretty much already exactly hit that technical price target, which basically means if I missed that move altogether, right now I'd not be entering into a new trade, because technically we have already hit the price target, which technically means the pattern is already complete. So we no longer have that price target active because we've already hit the price target. So we no longer have the pattern there because it's already complete. And now obviously either way, we could still end up seeing a bit of short-term bearish price action. Of course, that's still possible, but basically we no longer have that technical price target in play because the pattern has already played out. And so instead, I'll just be paying attention to important levels of support on the chart. And as for resistance, I would be expecting resistance right around here, sitting at around 2290. And as for other short-term levels of support and resistance, looking at the 4-hour time frame, we have this area of support sitting in between around 2130 going up towards around 2160. And as for short-term resistance, we have this level right here, which was previous support and resistance, which should now act as new resistance, sitting at around 2260. And above that, we have more resistance sitting in between around 2310 going up towards around 2330. And above that, we saw another perfect rejection from this area of resistance, which I talked about recently on the channel, sitting in between around 2380 going up towards around 2410. And if we're taking a look at the 4-hour Ethereum RSI, right now the 4-hour RSI is actually on the edge of oversold territories. And if we're looking at the last few times where the RSI got close to oversold territories, obviously these were very close to local lows in the price. And so as the most likely scenario in the short term, we're most likely going to see the price settle around this area and most likely play out a bit of choppy sideways price action within the next 1 to 2 days. But once again, you can make a lot of easy profit in choppy sideways price action just like this. And once again, if you want to know how to do that, then stick around to the end of this video to find out more. But first, taking a look at the Solana to US dollar chart here on the 3-day time frame. And right now, we are still playing out that perfect rejection from this Fibonacci level of resistance sitting at around $120. And as for significant support here on the larger time frames, we have this previous golden pocket area of resistance, which should act as new support, and it was also support all the way back here, sitting in between around $69, going all the way up towards around $77, once again acting as support. And so in case we see a further pullback here in the short term, of course, I would expect support around that price range, but in terms of the larger trend at play, I'm still very much bullish on the larger trend, because at least for now, we're still technically forming higher lows and higher highs, even if we see a short-term pullback continue. Obviously, that could just be a new higher low forming on the chart before potentially continuing on with the bullish trend later. And if we're taking a look at the shorter term, looking at the 4-hour time frame, right now the price of Solana is obviously following the rest of the crypto market with a bit of a short-term dump. But once again, a lot of this pullback in the crypto market today is mostly due to the DXY pumping, and also those funding rates were very overheated, and we've now had a nice flush out resetting those funding rates. And if we're taking a look at the 4-hour Solana RSI, right now the RSI is actually sitting just below this area of support where we've bounced from over the last few times, where the RSI has ran into this area of support. And in fact, right now the RSI is sitting very close to oversold territories on the 4-hour time frame, which means just in the short term, we could have somewhat limited room to the downside. And as for important support levels to pay attention to in the short term, looking at the Fibonacci retracement tool from low to high here on the 4-hour chart, we have the golden pocket area of support sitting in between around $83.50, going up towards around $85.50, close to $86. And just recently, we've seen pretty much a perfect bounce from that golden pocket area of support, which is the most important Fibonacci level on the chart. And as for other levels of support, we have the 38.2% Fibonacci level of support sitting at around $99, which as of right now, the price is sitting just below. And we also have the 50% retracement level sitting at around $92, which of course the price can still bounce at. And as for short-term resistance, I would expect some short-term resistance at around $108.60, and above that, I would expect more resistance at around $114 to $116. And so at least as of right now, in the short term, the price is looking more bearish than bullish, considering it's forming lower highs and lower lows in the short term. But remember, when you zoom out to a much larger time frame, that short-term bearish price action is basically just a small pullback within a much larger bullish trend. And so that's basically the situation right now. But if you want to know how you can make money in crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or simply chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit if the price is bullish or bearish using longs and shorts, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.